Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of A Playable Worlds live stream. I guess we don't really have a name for this show. We need one. I'll think about that some more. Today, instead of a dev interview, we've got coffee with the moderators. Now, some of these people you have not seen before. I know because I had not seen them before 15 minutes ago. So that should tell you something. But we've got a fun show for you. We actually have more moderators that couldn't make it at this time zone. But let's come and meet the ones we have right now. Let's go around the room and each introduce ourselves, but just briefly for a moment, and we'll go back later and talk a little bit more. Say your in-game name and what region you're playing from.
My
I'm
name is
Carneros.
Logan.
I'm playing from California. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Hey everybody, I'm Logan. Most of you know me as Leric Dax, and I'm from the southern United States.
We can hear a little bit of that twang. Next.
I'm Brian. You know me as Signus, and I am in Massachusetts. Boston, specifically.
Going Paxus?
You with the I was going to say you with the glasses.
Sean, you probably know me as Paxus Payne, and I'm from New England.
And hi, I'm Lemonous, and you probably know me as Lemonous. And I'm from Norway. So I am talking to you from Oslo, Norway, all the way across the pond for most of the rest of you in Europe.
I have been there. It's a lovely place. Beautiful airport, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not a moderator, so
All right.
let's skip.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see you're on camera now. In that.
Now we have frames at the top.
Thomas.
Frame
But
names.
introduce yourself anyway, in case no one's watching. Oh yeah, I love those.
It's way more professional
I'm just
now,
seeing
right?
them.
Hi, everybody. My name
Yeah.
is Thomas. I'm from Italy, Italian pizza guy, and I'm the community manager for Stars Reach.
That is beautiful. Proprio bella. Yeah, very nice. Okay. So here, let's so 4 moderators on this panel and two of us devs. And this is super cool. What a lot of fun. I've never done this in any other game company before, by the way. This is really fun. But we're gonna go around the room and say a little bit more about each other. Keep remembering what order you just talked in, and we'll go in that order. All right, hang on to that for a second. Now say a couple words about what things the community should maybe know about you. What's your favorite game of all time, or what's your specialty in moderation, if there is such a thing. We're going to talk about a bit more about what goes into moderation in a couple minutes, but give them a little bit more sense of you, of how your voice sounds, especially those of you with an accent.
Hello everybody, my name is Logan, and y'all know me as Leric. I studied anthropology, philosophy, and digital media, and I occasionally write about culture and technology. I'm popular on Twitter. I like to cook. I was a chef for a while. I played the theremin and the synthesizer. And virtual worlds have always been a passion of mine, not just as a gamer, but as a social scientist. And it's really exciting to make such an incredible one a reality. As for my favorite games, Final Fantasy XI and Star Wars Galaxies. Definitely.
Bravo.
Was Star Wars Galaxies your first one? I guess Final Fantasy came out before.
No, actually, Final Fantasy XI, about a year before, was my first MMO. I also played RuneScape, but I don't know. I didn't really think it was an MMO because it was in a browser, but of course it was.
Right. Um, uh, so I came in about 2001 on Dark Age of Camelot. That was my first MMO. I kind of accidentally got into moderating because I was waiting a long time to play Darkfall, which was supposed to release in 2005 and kept getting delayed. And I heard that if you volunteer to moderate the IRC, you get inside information about when the beta test might be starting. Um,
That's so funny.
that was a firestorm of moderation. Learned a lot really fast about de-escalating because, you know, those free-for-all PvP games attracts very passionate crowds.
They really do.
Yeah, and I kind of got to see exactly like the ebb and flow. Like when you stare into the matrix long enough, you start to see patterns, and I'm like, here's the ebb and flow of how people react based on how communicative the devs are being, or you know what's going on in the game and stuff like that. So I don't know if I have a particular style, just that it's been so nice being involved in this community, not having
We have
to
such a
put
great
out so many
culture.
fires.
Absolutely. We have
Um,
great people in our community.
Yeah, my
Marvelous.
accent's not gonna come through unless I'm like back down in Rhode Island getting something from Cumberland Farms. But yeah, that's about where I came in, and I've been fascinated with virtual worlds for a long time. Again, while waiting for Darkfall, I was studying computer science, and we had a project where we were doing simulated, I think, bug ecology. And I got really invested
cool.
into AI and virtual worlds and stuff like that, and then stumbled into reading all about Raft's like design documents for UO and that ecology system. I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be great something like that happen now? And I thought I was gonna have to like make my own little small project just for me to try it out, and then then this came around. So right,
That's really cool.
Yay. All right, Paxus.
Paxus.
Yeah, so I pretty much like got my start with Star Wars Galaxies and Ultima Online as far as MMORPGs are concerned. In gaming. You know, the thing is like I've always had two passions for gaming. I've had MMORPGs have been my number one passion. I love those games. I played Dark Age of Camelot. I played EverQuest. I mean, the list is a mile long. But the other thing I do is first person shooters, and Half-Life has been like a huge part of my life. And that's kind of where I developed some of my moderation and administration skills was participating in those communities because they're very player driven. When you run your own server and you have to administrate it, and being part of, I mean, the way that it usually works is you're part of a clan and then the clan runs the server. And so that's kind of where I got my background with gaming.
Nice. Nice. All right, Lemonous.
Yes, I let's see, what am I? I started studying computer science and then like halfway pivoted into UX design, like UX design heavy computer science, and ended up writing my master's thesis actually on trust building. So more of a like soft science,
Very
but
cool.
still somehow got my computer science degree from that. I don't know how that happened, but 10 thumbs up. Day job, programmer. And favorite game is difficult, actually. I want to list up some legacy ones. Legacy. Sorry, I'm young. Ratchet and Clank 2 is a favorite. Age of Mythology. Great game. Better than all of the Age of Empires. You can fight me on
Great
this.
game.
First MMO, also RuneScape, I think. And favorite, actually, right now I'm playing through Clair Obscure Expedition 33, and it might very well become my favorite game ever. It's really,
Wow.
really good. Yeah.
It looks cool.
Wow.
Yeah. As for moderation experience, I actually got mine, similarly to Paxus, by co-owning a Minecraft server, a mid-sized one. And by that, I mean, like, at the biggest, we had like maybe 200-300 concurrent users, like online on the Minecraft server at one point, which is pretty. That's pretty. At least back then, in like 2012, it was a sizable server. And that was fun. And we had like all of these forums, Discord, not Discord, TeamSpeak, and I had to very quickly learn to moderate those. Yeah, so that was a sort of baptism by fire. And I learned a lot through that. Yeah.
Thomas,
Oh my god. All right.
a nice age of mythology.
Again, I don't even know where to start. And, the only thing I can say is that probably at the age of 12 or 14, I was stealing my mom's computer to play Minecraft. And from that point on, I started making videos of Minecraft servers, creating trailers and music and stuff like that. And then I had my own computers, and from there, I mean, I started playing any kind of games. And from some point, I don't remember where, I started working with game companies because I really wanted to create my own games or to be part of a project. So not just gaming, but be also the one that creates behind the scenes the magic.
I can relate to that. That's how I ended up in the games industry. I had been a technical journalist before that, usually for print magazines. Wrote columnist for a bunch of computer magazines that have been gone for years now. One, I even wrote a gossip column under a pseudonym. And if you sent in a tip, we would, at first we sent you a t-shirt that was signed by Steve Jobs, but we only had like 100 of them. I sat next to him for a meeting where we interviewed him for the magazine, and I just put one t-shirt after another in front of him, and he just signed them while answering questions for the reporter. And I got him to do a whole big stack of them, took them home, and gave them out. But when we ran out of those, we started giving out these little coffee mugs, and it became a thing in the software industry that if you had this cup on your desk at work, you had leaked something to Lieutenant Sullivan of Next World magazine. And that was me. That was a lot of fun.
That's so funny. That's
Do you
I
have
don't
a
know
long
why I told you
experience
that
with
story.
leaks?
Yeah.
Mr.
Then,
Leak.
but after writing about all this cool tech for years, I had an opportunity to go in and work for a game company, 3DO, and help them launch their console. And I've never looked back since. First MMO I got hooked on was Meridian 59. That was crazy. I took a week off of work once just to stay home and play the game all day. Also, I had maxed out my vacation time at the company, and I wasn't accruing any anyway. So I said, "Oh, okay, I'll do that." It was a staycation, I guess they call it now. Had a fantastic time. Anyway, favorite game ever, EVE Online. Can I give a quick shout out for a sec? This is totally off topic. Want to shout out to Voodoo. He's probably not even watching this. But he designed these sweatshirts and this hat
They look so good.
and this cool journal thing. The journal's fabulous. I'm going to use it at a conference next week. Super excited about it. This, I don't know, moss green color is freaking awesome. The embroidery, I like the whole thing. The sweatshirts run slightly small. You can buy them on starsreach.com. They're just slightly small, but quality's good. Now my camera's getting a little fussy. Okay, there. But yeah, love it. Good job. The hat sucks. This has a logo on it that you can't see. It's a psychic hat. You're supposed to just know it has a logo there. But other than that, everything's great. All right. Hi, Cartris. Good to see you, bro. I know exactly who that is, by the way. All right. Next, let's switch to talk about moderation for a moment. Moderation. There are so many different things that you guys do, and this is important. There's going to be a test later, but let's talk a little bit about moderation. I'd like you guys to talk about what do you do as part of your moderation job? What did you learn first, or what did you find trickier? What is moderation like a journey? I would say it kind of is. What parts were surprising or unexpected for you? You know, etc. What skills, we'll come into that a little bit later. What skills do you think people should have, or what personality traits, etc., to make a good moderator? But for right now, let's talk about what the work is like, where you do it, what you do, what kinds of things you're watching for, that kind of stuff.
Well, for
I'm
me,
gonna
I've been.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Carneros. Okay.
I was going to throw out a name and get you to start. Logan.
So for me, I've been a moderator and administrator for a long time. The first time was probably slightly after Y2K, so I would have been very young. I was born in 1990, and when I came to Stars Reach, you know, I wasn't expecting to join the moderation team. I was just checking out Raf Coster's new project, you know, because I love Raf's work. But I ended up falling in love with the project and the team and the community. And you know, what do I get out of it? It's really great being a part of a team that's helping architect and grow such a wonderful community, because that's what moderation is. It's not just like, you know, making sure people don't spam and fight and stuff like that, although that's a big part of it. It's about building community and sort of helping nurture, you know, an ecosystem. And we just have a great one at Stars Reach. You know, it really is impressive just how great of a community we have. Signus.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. The thing that keeps me coming back to MMOs and why I've been doing it for so long is just the human community aspect is so much more interesting than a lot of single player games can manage, and it's an organic thing. And I liked I think maybe the first time I felt like the power of a community was when I was doing testing with Middle-earth Online, which became Lord of the Rings Online. But just there was such a huge push from certain organized guilds from that community to the point where Turbine used to have these like once a year luncheons in Providence, and then in the process of growing, they kind of stopped doing it, so the community took over and started sponsoring the luncheons themselves, and more guilds showed up and started meeting in person. I'm like, this is really cool the way this can bring a lot of people together. And so I've always kind of wanted to help online game communities be more like that, kind of foster that kind of cooperation and inclusion, I guess. But it's not always easy. But with this particular community that started, I was, before this interview, I was going back to check like kind of when things all started, and I think the unofficial Discord started the first like rumor that Raf had a game in 2019. I think Hubi was the first member or the second member. And shout out to Ali, who is a big responsibility for bringing a lot of the early community in from her other games. She joined sometime, I think, like January 2020. She's the one who invited Raf to come in and have a lot of the devs sit in and observe things. But yeah, it's just, sorry, I'm not gonna get bogged down in the timeline, but in terms of what I learned through moderating over the years was the biggest lesson for me to learn was not to get bogged down in debates. I'm not going to even say arguing, because obviously you shouldn't get bogged down in arguing, but when you are a moderator, you tend to have a lot more up-to-date information and knowledge about the game than some of the people who are coming in to just kind of gripe. And you want to sometimes step in and be like, well, hold on, that thing you're saying is not true. That thing you're complaining about doesn't actually exist in this game. That goes nowhere. That goes nowhere fast. And then you develop a reputation as somebody who just steps in to push back rather than help. And so it's an evolved skill to learn how to kind of elegantly address people's concerns without making them feel like you're trying to one-up them or gang up on them and things like that. That's something that I have to remind myself about frequently still. And it just helps to always remind yourself that there's a person on the other end who might be having a bad day. And so long as they are talking in good faith, you can usually get a good discussion out of them. Sometimes people are there just to be disruptive, and debating them is not going to go anywhere anyway. So, and as for, I think part of the question was what you do day to day. Mostly just make sure there's nothing too flagrantly offensive happening or on the Discord, or no bots, no scams, things like that. We haven't. I'm not going to say that we've been idle, because this team is very proactive about a lot, and we do a lot of talking to each other behind the scenes about how to handle things. But there haven't been huge, tough situations that we've had to really push back on yet. But things will change as things grow. But hopefully we've got a strong bedrock under us until then.
Y'all surprise me sometimes that you're more patient with an obviously fake person than I am. You're like, just let it sit there till it does something dumb. I'm like, but, yeah, patience. Like, okay, all right. I love it. Paxus.
Yeah.
You're on.
So I was gonna say, like, on a basic level, yeah. So I do answering questions, responding to DMs, usually helping to troubleshoot issues that may be keeping players from accessing the tests. We get that sometimes. I try to in going to Signus's point there, we try to ensure that cooler heads prevail when we have controversial discussions that occur in chat, and we try to keep the conversation on topic. We help community members understand each other better when conflicts arise, or at least I think that that's a big part of it. If there's something going on where you can see two people talking past each other, it helps to try and diffuse that situation and kind of approach it from a nuanced perspective, I suppose. Because at the end of the day, we want people to be, we want people to reach a sense of harmony among each other, or with each other. The other part of it is we monitor activity during tests to ensure that no one is griefing, or at least that's what I do a lot of anyway. I'm always watching people, and that kind of leads me to on a philosophical level. So I kind of see being a moderator. I mentioned before my experience of being involved with Half-Life, the first-person shooter server communities there. And one of the things about that is that we host and maintain those servers ourselves. So we're on the back end of that. We're installing mods that we have on the server, plugins on the server, but more importantly, we're managing all of the security-related issues. So if somebody's coming in and they're hacking on the server, I played Day of Defeat specifically, and I put a little part in my notes where I said I called it an elegant game for a more civilized age. I don't know why I put that in there, but anyway. So we host the server, we run it, and so as mentioned before about PvP, that inflames tensions, and that's really at their core. That's what those games are. They're all PvP games. You put people into a box, and they have conflict with one another, and it's intense. And so we keep an eye out for bad actors. And so, and the important thing is that I see leadership as modeling good behavior, because I think of that. I think of being a moderator as being a leader, and serving community members, right? Like, in my opinion, it's not about pride or power. It's about respect and kindness and compassion and understanding with the community. So to that end, one of my favorite ways to serve the community is to investigate reports or complaints and to protect community members. And when it comes to tests, protecting players from unwanted action by others, right? And in those heavily player moderated environments of Half-Life, one of the things that I gained a lot of experience with doing is investigation. So that's my favorite part of being a moderator, I think, and it's mostly the same process being a Stars Reach moderator to investigate players. And Half-Life, that's spectating players, watching them in first person, but just watching and what's going on. And when you receive a complaint from a player saying, hey, this person, I came in and my garden was all burnt up or what have you, or I saw this person using drones to burn my garden or whatever. Whatever the case may be, there may be some, action that's taking place outside of the rules of the game. And so part of my, task in that regard is to make a record of suspicious play and uncover, when it comes to Half-Life, uncovering multiple identities that players have, because we get people that come on the server and usually they will use more than one Steam account because they've been banned on another one for hacking, right? Which is typically what we're looking out for in that context. But the big part is what do? You discuss findings with other administrators, that's a lot of what we do, right? What's going on behind the scenes. We're talking about how we're going to take care of the situation. And then once we've come to a decision about that, respectfully and kindly attempting to help that player kind of modify that behavior, right? So, and emphasizing respectfully and kindly. When I was young, I grew up playing in these Half-Life mod servers, and I made mistakes as a kid, of course, as everybody does. And nobody likes it when somebody's in a position of authority and they jump on you and they say, they use a condescending attitude, or they talk down to you and they're telling you what to do. They put you in a position where you feel demeaned by their attitude toward you. And and I take pride in trying to avoid that. So what's important for me is understanding, why is this person doing this? Maybe they don't realize that's against the rule, or maybe they don't even think of it I didn't realize that person put a lot of work into that garden, and because I didn't realize that was made by a player, right? And now you figured out, hey, they acted from a position of ignorance. They didn't act from a position of malice. So that's an important step. And then, taking actions based on precedent, right? If something, if we learn that that's a person who's actually acting in a malicious way, then we look at I look at what's been done in the past, and I take action. In that case, I might take action on my own and record the results, or like I said, meet with the other administrators, make a decision. So those are kind of the two ways that I look at what I do. I do things, we do things. There's those simple day-to-day things that we do, but then there's also that important part of modeling the behavior as a member of the community that we want to see other people doing. Because, as other people have highlighted on the call, or in this stream so far, there's so much enjoyment and pleasure to be derived from community events and getting players to participate as a community, that it's really important that we all protect and maintain that. And that's kind of what I see myself as a moderator for.
It's so true. It's such a polymorphous job, right? You're doing community relations, culture building, tech support, customer support, conflict resolution, comm, security. It's complex, but
Absolutely.
it really is so great. It's so great having this community and being able to do it for this game, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
Lem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me speak in
um,
for a second, Lem, and say, Lem, can you also address Cartris's cool question there? He asks in chat, it's tough question for moderators. How do you moderate international issues? Like bringing up sensitive topics that are forbidden in some countries.
Great question.
Indeed. I'll just try to answer that question first, I guess. So one thing is that obviously we have a kind of, I don't know if it's explicit anymore, but we have a kind of implicit, at least, rule of no inflammatory politics talk on the server. So that gets rid of a lot of it. But then we have the things that are kind of tough, international, but not necessarily like a politically inflammatory issues. But more like emotional things, and that's difficult. It is. It really is. But it goes back to the same things that we do when people are talking like past each other. We really try to mediate and help them like de-escalate, mediate, help the participants understand where each others are coming from whenever possible. And also, you know, when we have to, cutting in and cutting it off when we have to, if that's not helping. Any of you want to add anything to that?
Well, to use the
no,
analogy. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go for it. Go for the analogy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to use the drones analogy I was using before about burning somebody's garden. I made a mistake during a playtest once, and I didn't realize that the drones would actually set things on fire, and that's where that analogy came from. I fired off the drones and I burnt up somebody's garden. Well, in that case, I couldn't figure out whose garden it was, like, but because names don't always match in Discord. But if you do, right? If I'm a moderator and I can tell who that person is, finding them and saying, hey, I did this thing by accident. I didn't mean to do that. So that the next time they come into play, they don't say, hey, my garden's burnt up and who did this? These players, they do all these mean things, right? Taking that initiative to connect with another community member and take accountability for what you did by mistake, and saying, hey, I didn't do this because I was trying to be unkind. I did it because I made a mistake. And I feel like, as players, we should model that with each other, and that's kind of like part of the goal, right? Yeah.
Nice.
Is it okay if I also Oh, no, sorry, Signus. Go on.
I'll try to be short. Sometimes it's not even just like forbidden international topics. Sometimes it's just cultural difference in the ways people communicate. Some more blunt than others. We've had a history in the past of people misunderstanding the intent in text, and sometimes all you can do with that is individually pull people aside in DMs and try to be like, hey, I don't think they meant this as a personal attack, but if you want to talk to them about it, you should do it privately. Those are kind of those like soft moderation things where no one's like breaking a rule, but you can see the escalation beginning, and you're like, I'll watch until it seems like it's going to reach a point where it's going to explode, and then you got to step in.
It's about paying attention, and you kind of redirect things before there's a real problem. Very important.
Yeah.
All right, Lemonous.
Yeah, it's funny that you talk about the communication differences, because that was actually one of my learning experiences coming here. I am Norwegian. I speak like a Norwegian. And we are generally a bit more direct than Americans. And for a lot of Americans, that can very easily, especially in text, come off as standoffish. Which, is fair, because if an American speaks like that, they're being standoffish. So I had to moderate myself and still do sometimes, a lot, sometimes, and remind myself that actually maybe I should say this more indirectly or add some things around it to like soften the blow or things like that. Yeah, emoji are great. So sometimes I'm convinced that Carneros gave me this offer just to kind of pull me out of the arguments or the discussions we were having about the game, to zip me up so that I would stop talking so much in the Discord.
No. Of course not. And Stormur, du ert Íslendingur. Yeah, welcome. Good to have you come and join us and chat there. Yeah, he's right. Icelanders can also be kind of, well, Icelanders are related to Norwegians in a lot of ways culturally, so I get it. Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah.
Góðan daginn. I lived in Iceland for a little while, working for CCP. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Also, one of the things that we use the moderation team for is, in a pinch, we will show things to the moderation team, almost like a focus group or a group of guinea pigs, and we'll say, what do you think the players would think of this? And we'll put something in front of them, and they're like, oh.
It's a lot of
Or
fun.
they're like, oh, that's good. No, you get any reaction. They're very honest with us. I appreciate that. If we're making something and it's borderline dumb, and we show it to the group and they say, oh, that's nice because they're too polite, that's not going to help us. So we need the honesty more than we need the warm, fuzzy feelings. So yeah, very appreciative. Very appreciative. So we need to make sure we show it when the Europeans are not asleep. Just joking, but yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for that. So here's the thing. We've been talking for about 45 minutes now. We need more moderators. Let me explain why. Right now, we've got moderation going on in Discord, sometimes 2 or 3 Discords, but let's just say Discord. We've got moderation going on in Twitch chat. We've got it in game sometimes. Sometimes people are getting private messages asking them questions, and it's almost like customer service requests over private messages, and people have a lot of questions. I didn't get my Kickstarter backer survey. My email, I signed up here with one and this one with the other, and I need them to be the same email, and can you fix that? Or I can't press the button to synchronize First Look with Discord. Press harder. There's a bunch of that kind of stuff going on. Anyway, I'm just teasing, but there's some of that stuff going on. And we only have, and there's in-game. And there's in-game help, like Paxus just explained, keeping an eye on people in-game. People like Paxus. Well, that's only 4 tests a week at the moment, for a few hours each. We're making our way towards 24/7 operation with the games up. And we won't have Rod and Dave and the other game devs, Avi, sitting in the game channel the whole time for 24/7. We can't do that. We can't even put a picture of them for that long there. We just don't have the people for that. So we're going to need to ramp up our moderation team a bit. So we're opening up applications for moderator. If you're interested, send an email to community@playableworlds.com. community@playableworlds.com. Would one of you nice gentlemen write that in the chat, please?
Yep.
Tell us, introduce yourself. Tell us you're interested in being considered for moderator, tell us a little bit about yourself. Whatever you think we should know. And do you have any moderation-ish type experience? Because it helps, you know. And then what we'll do is we'll sit down as a group and we'll look at these things. Actually, we'll do it in different time zones, but sit down and look at these things together. We're particularly interested in people who play in the times or of the clock that we don't. So late U.S. time zone, early Asian time zones, or you know, what in if I use Eve slang, moon time, CN time zone, Australian time zone, you know, even some Eastern European time zones would be lovely to get more coverage. Do you have to have excellent English? It helps. At least decent English is helpful. Spelling is fine. Grammar problems, fine. Hell, there are Americans that have spelling and grammar issues too. So don't be intimidated by that. Okay. You mostly need enough English that if two people are kind of talking past each other, that you can get them on the same track, or you can understand the difference between what the two folks are saying. Lemonous, am I saying that about right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have enough English that you know what they're doing wrong and what they're communicating wrong, you're good. Right. Thomas, what about you? Do you have any thoughts on how much English someone needs for this job?
Maybe the only advice is to understand this slang, even if you are not the best, you know, because sometimes slang can be misunderstood. That's what I learned with my experience.
Yeah, but it's easier to look up American slang or English slang sometimes than some of these other slangs in other languages. There are, you know, Urban Dictionary and all kinds of other things that will teach you things you never wanted to learn, actually. But there are places to look up stuff. Yeah. Don't, you know, Riz and Skibbity and all that crap. Yeah. Things people my age aren't supposed to say. Okay. Rest of you guys, any thoughts on this? Should they be nervous about doing this? What do they get out of it? What do they get out of this?
They get all the
How big a
secrets.
commitment is it? Oh yeah, some.
I'd also add that Reddit moderation would be useful. We could do a better job posting stuff over at the subreddit we've got.
Yeah, we've got Reddit, we've got Discord, we've got the Game Master stuff during test. It is a big commitment, but it's very rewarding, you know, to help build a great social ecosystem. It helps to be a people person, be enthusiastic, creative, detail-oriented, but importantly, to have a lot of patience. Very important.
We also appreciate a woman's perspective when that's available. It's not on the panel at the moment. Allie is out sick at the moment, or she'd be helping us more at the moment. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah.
Yeah, and the more people that help, the kind of easier the job gets. Oh, yeah. Well, to an extent. I guess at a certain point, there's some principle, right, where you've got too many cooks in the kitchen. But I don't know. We've got a pretty strong foundation under us. And everyone on the team is always so willing to help fill in slack when someone else gets busy. So don't feel like you need to commit your whole life to it. I myself, I've been pretty distant while finishing my master's paper, and I know you guys aren't new anymore, but I guess the second generation of moderators, it felt like I could actually focus on my work, knowing that you guys had my back while I was, scrambling to get through my work. So the more people, it really helps.
Yeah.
And you've
It's-
got some time to get ramped up before the 24/7 operation starts. So
Mhm.
we're giving you a nice ramp here to get in there. When is that going to start? We're not ready to say any times out loud, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add is that it's actually like you don't need to be nervous or scared about this because we're actually really nice. We are. Yeah. And even though, well, except Thomas.
Okay, thank you.
And while we do have a lot of things to do and there's a lot of responsibility, of course, there's also like a lot of room for growth and a room to try out a lot of different things, which, in a different game company, you might have a lot of different people doing all of these different roles, whereas we're kind of the scrappy startup where everybody does everything. So it's a really, really great way to get a bit of experience in everything, whether it's like moderation or community management or marketing, copywriting, game
wear
mastering.
a lot of hats.
You get to wear a lot of hats, physically and emotionally.
And Riz is not on the qualification list, though, right?
No.
No.
Yeah.
So we don't need a lot of Riz.
It helps, but it's not like necessary. It's not required,
Riz
but it's a
helps.
bonus. Yeah.
Oh,
All right. And you're part of a team. So keep that in mind. It's not scary because you got a team to back you up and help you. If you don't know what to do, ask the guys. Yeah. Because
You've got an extensive.
The day will come when you encounter a weird situation, an edge
Day or
case.
night. Yeah.
The day will come, even if you think you know this kind of stuff really, really well, the day will come. Humans are weird. You will find something and the team will back you up. All right. So what else to tell you about? Let's go into some announcements for a moment. But one more time, community@playableworlds.com. That's thank you for pinning that in chat.
For announcements, did you want to answer Anarchaotic's question?
Yes, go for it. I missed it.
The question was about how in I don't know if that's Ashes of Creation or Age of Conan. I assume Ashes, people have been getting doxxed for things happening in game. How would we handle that on our side of things? I feel like that goes back to the investigation thing. You try to get as much as the story as you want, but something like actually bleeding into real life, if there's any hint of that happening, I feel like that's just an easy, well, that they're gone kind of thing.
oh yeah.
But I've personally only ever come across that directed at myself, not between players. So that's one where I haven't seen, and I would ask other people in the community, other people on the mod team, hey, what do you think the best way to handle this is?
Yeah, I mean, it can be really difficult to pinpoint like the sender or whatever, like the source
Right.
in such a situation. But we'd try, we'd do our best. And if we find somebody, and positively, of course, like you say, easy ban. But also, I mean, a lot of it, I think, is community building and norm building in the community. And we are really fortunate right now, and hopefully for the foreseeable future and forever, to have a really nice community. They really are, like, compared to a lot of the online games I've played, There's not a lot of conflict, and not a lot of conflict, no, in the community here.
And
Where's the
if you are in game and you walk up to a random person in game and engage them in Star's Reach, you will be shocked at how helpful and considerate that person is. If you do that in EVE Online, you will lose your ship. I'm just telling you right now.
Yeah. Just be sure to keep an eye on the chat box in the lower left-hand corner, because sometimes it can be hard to see the responses with the current iteration of the chat box.
Leric, were you trying to say something?
No, my Twitch glitched. Sorry. I'm trying to fix it.
All right,
No.
you're good.
Okay.
Okay.
If I was, I don't remember. I got distracted.
Leric, you're not really facing your mic at the moment either.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm back.
Okay,
No,
thank you.
my
Hello.
Discord or my Twitch froze, so I was just trying to fix it so I could see
All
the
right,
chat.
yeah. No worries. Okay, announcements for a second. So next week there's a games industry event in LA. It's called Games Beat Summit 2025. And some of us are going to be off participating, including Raf and my boss, Eric Goldberg. And Ninja Nina will be there too, and me. So we're gonna do a bunch of things. My boss Eric is presenting a panel there, and it's not aimed at players at all, not even close. But next week Thursday, we're gonna have Eric as our guest on the stream, and he's gonna do a version of that talk from GameSpeed Summit here. And it's called How to Navigate the Games New Normal, meaning the games industry's new normal. Because we've gone through a lot in the last couple years. We're going through a lot right now. And we're gonna talk about some of that. And we're gonna talk to you almost like you were peers working in the games industry instead of players. So it's going to be a bit of a stretch, a different animal. And hopefully you'll get a glimpse of what it's like working in the chocolate factory, in the parts of the factory that we don't normally show to visitors coming through on the tour. Hopefully you'll get something good out of it. My boss is convinced this is a bad idea, but he'll go along with it because I asked him to. I think it's actually good and healthy. And anyway, so next week you'll get a chance to put yourselves in our shoes for an hour and hear what we're going through and how we think we can make our way out of it. Thank you, Nagelum Void. I appreciate the support on that one. So that's next Thursday morning.
I
Not
can't
sure
wait.
what the
I'm really
Oompa
excited.
Loompas break room. Yeah, that's a Willy Wonka reference. I get it. Yeah,
That's us.
yeah. We believe it or not, Willy Wonka was around when I was a kid. So, yeah, love it. Okay, thank you. What else is going on to tell you about? We do have a new patch next week. More on that later. We'll do a fireside chat for that patch. I'm not sure if it's posted yet on the events on Discord, but if it isn't, it will be. We have to keep you posted, and that'll be good. We got some new stuff to show you folks.
Exciting.
Yeah,
Can't wait.
yeah. Thomas is excited about something you won't see, but it's camera controls, so he can capture video better.
Oh, that's
Finally.
awesome.
Actually, no. Some of the content creators in the group are going to find that attractive also. So we'll see.
I'm excited.
But Thomas, you'll have to explain it to folks.
Yeah,
Once you get the hang of
yeah.
it.
Okay.
I have no idea what he did.
Basically, there were some features missing regarding camera movement, animation, and smoothness. So we added some scripts to improve the quality of footage being taken while moving, mainly. Because, right now, if you want to take footage, you need some custom commands like /cam. I don't know if anyone have access to that, and it's sometimes glitchy. So it's hard to record steady footage or use the pan and tilt function to record good transition. So hopefully with this new camera, we can record easily and in a better quality.
That'll be great.
All right. It's just fun to see all these names and faces up on the screen for a second. I appreciate it.
Next time you're going to ask me to put 9 cameras. And there I'll cry.
I tried to warn you in advance this was going to be a rough one, Thomas. I tried. I knew you were going to have to rework your whole template. Thank you.
No, that's great. That's good.
Very much. All right. Thank you all. Do we have anyone we can raid today?
I'll double check.
Lemonous, what kind of art is on the wall behind you?
Oh, that? Or that?
Oh, the higher.
That is actually, those are foam noise canceling pads. And they are covered in a wooden plate with a stylized sound wave etched into it.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Nice. I love bookcases, and there are a whole bunch of bookcases in our view.
I love bookcases too.
This is actually specifically put in on my lease. My landlord's like, I built these bookcases with my son. Please take care of them. And I will especially notice if you damage them. Like, got it, loud and clear.
They're pretty big.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Oh my God, they're so big. I won't be able to go to an apartment with a smaller bookcase after this. The one I've got back in my other apartment is just wicked small, and I can't I can't deal with it. I need to start getting rid of books.
Yeah, I have 3,000 or 4,000 books in my attic because I don't have enough bookcases. It's great having big ones.
I did a degree in Chinese history, and I carried all my Chinese history texts with me for about 30 years, and then said, "Screw this," donated them all. But yeah,
so many academic texts. It's nice having a nice library, but it sure makes moving unpleasant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually moving right now, and yes, I can confirm.
It's a pain. It really is.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Stay out of trouble, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Bye all.